What's up, fam? It's your boy GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning. How is everyone doing? Stay frosty. What does that mean, stay frosty? Hex Logic. Good to see you, brother. Bit finesse. So, you're just going to walk into a supremely profitable situation, get rich, and have a snack? There be barriers on every path. There are only hard enough to keep you out. Plow through that. Yeah, it's not even close. That's why I'm worried. Like, I hope it doesn't go longer because I don't feel any anxiety. I just know it's a good opportunity for guys like me who I haven't put that much money into the system yet. So, Paul Sachs, woke yourselves, fools. Cryptographics in the house. Paul Sachs, Hex Pimp. Guys, we have a very special episode. We got Genius Frosty in the background. And I call him Genius Frosty because every time I talk to this guy, I learn something. You know what I mean? And those are the guys I like to talk to. I don't think about all the there's all the noise, so much noise. I'm a gym rat. I got laid a couple times before, so I don't think about all you guys fighting all the time. And that's how the guys that I hang out with generally feel. It's like, I like to fight with guys. I don't like to fight with girls either. I don't like to fight with anyone. It's really annoying. So instead of opening your mouth in general, and I say this all the time, so we're not going anywhere different. Instead of opening your mouth and just pretending like you know something because you're bored, just shut your mouth because we know you're not going to read the shit anyway. Guys, this is a special episode. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin nodes, all sorts of node information that I want to know. Remember, Sam, we brought up that article yesterday and it was like how you could make money on Bitcoin nodes. And I was like, is that possible? And then I don't know if we read it or if I never got to reading it, but there was some video so I was going to ask him about that. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff as we go. Sam's got all the Sam's already locked and loaded. So I'm going to share one tweet, guys. I would like you to share it before the show, and then we get started, guys. Almost 2K subs. Almost 2K subs. I'm posting it right down there. Let's get to 2K subs. It's going to be lit, guys. We're going to have a great episode. Share this out. Let everyone know Frosty's in the house. We got a lot to talk about today. Celsius rug pull. Everyone that shilled it, probably never going to be on the internet again. I'm sorry, guys. This is my first bear market, but I know a lot about social calibration and stuff. And all those guys that talked about sell for so long, oh no. Oh no, oh no. Those were guys that literally did exactly what Frosty was telling me in the green room. And we all say the same thing all the time. Even those crypto YouTubers, they get so, oh, these people love me. I don't have to research anymore. And then what happens? They start shilling shit, saying, oh, stuff like Mashinsky's okay. I don't have to look into the details. It's, oh, look, it's working. It's working. It's working. Everyone's getting their percentages. It's good. It's good. And Richard's last year, when Celsius is $6 telling everyone it's going to zero. And that's not popular to say when something is all-time high. So you got to think these are actual men that think through situations on their own mental space. Those are the guys we like to bring in this house so Sam can talk to him. We could talk to him. We got a lot going on today. Really excited about this one, guys. We got DeFi proof intro song. Hit the like, hit the sub, biceps for Frosty and Sam. Let's go.
You already know what time it is.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stay. Got me some hedge on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Gym ready sent me to show you the way.
DeFi proof. Yeah.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Crypto in the morning.
Waiting on phone.
Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.
We're gonna take notes. DeFi. Money.
Sam.
What's Gucci? How you doing? I'm excited to talk to Frosty this morning. We're going to be covering nodes. There's different types of nodes out there, but like what is a node, and what are the different types of nodes, and why is it important to even have a node, right? Because most people don't actually understand what a node is. There's different types of nodes that are available out there, right? There's
ways to be profitable from them, isn't there?
Hopefully we'll find out. And
well, no, there definitely is. Like, I know that to be true because David Feeder talks about it all the time. I don't know the specifics, but we're going to find out the specifics.
What if you could run one node that ran on multiple networks? And if it was profitable and you ran it on 3 or 4 different networks, as in like, say you ran a node for Pulse, you ran a node for Ethereum, and you ran a node for Bitcoin, all on the same hardware as a computer. Wouldn't that be dope? And
is your mic plugged in?
Oh, my mic is over here.
Is that better? Much better. Okay, cool. Let's get into this. This is dope. I'm excited. I've wanted to learn a lot more about nodes. I've pulled up an article beforehand where it was talking about there's 7 different types of nodes. There's light nodes, archival full nodes, pruned full nodes, mining nodes, authority nodes, master nodes, lightning nodes. I don't know what any of that shit means. I would like to.
And where does this? Never mind. Let's just get Frosty in here before we confuse ourselves.
Yes.
Guys, biceps in the chat. Like the content. Share it out. Frosty McFrost.
What up, boys?
Hey, what's good, brother? Looking sharp, man. Like the views.
Yeah, buddy. Freaking just chilling.
Just another day in Frosty land.
Exactly. Welcome. Well, thanks for having me on. Much appreciated.
Appreciate you coming on.
Sam, I'm going to kind of let you go for a minute.
I would love to learn more just about like what a node is. There's a lot of people who just have no effing idea what a node is. So I think that's probably a good place to start to create context, right? Before we get into some of the other stuff we're going to talk about, like what is a node and like how does it work?
Well, the easiest thing that people can relate to what a node is, and every single buddy probably in this freaking room and chat and online or whoever's watching us already own ones. You all own one. It's called your cell phone. If anybody, one of you have a smartphone, guess what? You own a node and you're running it. You're paying for it. You bought the node from iPhone, Google, Huawei, or whoever the hell you bought your phone from, Samsung. Guess what? That's a node. Did you pay for that node? Did you voluntarily pay for it? Yes, you did. Do you voluntarily pay for the electricity to charge it? Yes, you do. So you already run a node every day. You own one and you walk around one within your pocket.
That was incredible. That was incredible. Real quick before I forget, because I will forget. Why don't we talk? Because we're just going to go down. So we're going to go downhill and start talking about all the stuff. So like, tell us your background. What are you good at? What do you like to do? And where have you been in the past? Your interaction.
that might have been a better way to start.
Yeah, we're like,
talk about yourself.
So where have you where did you start interacting with crypto and some of your background, et cetera?
Thanks for bringing that.
So I've told this story many times in different streams, but I'm basically was an electrician. So I started out my life as in careers in my late teens, early 20s as an electrician, working in construction. I ended up having kids very young. I was 19, 20. I had kids very, very young, and that made me basically get into life early. Like I left my house at 15. You know what I mean? So I had, it's not that I'm very smart. I've just had to learn shit the hard way for a very long time because I moved out of my house when I was 15. So I had to interact in the real world. I didn't have somebody to coddle me. I had to solve real world problems in order to freaking survive. Then I had kids young, when that adds another layer of responsibility and drive to make sure to keep a roof over her head and food on the table and a woman to look after. And that, as I progressed through, I worked through to become like a master electrician in Canada and Ontario. And then, you know what I mean? And I started teaching like the electrical engineering course, the motor rewind course, the pre-exam course, a bunch of other stuff through the College of Trades at a college. But then I ended up getting into crypto, and I was at an event, and somebody was telling me about crypto. This is like way back when it first started, and it was on my radar, but I didn't really think about it. Then Ethereum Classic launched, and I started going to these summits. They had summits, so you go around all over the world, and this is meetings, and there's usually like 10, 15, 30 people at the most. And you
So
start getting
this
involved.
is like for time frame. So this is like 2016-ish?
No, it's been way before that, probably like 2014, 2013.
Okay, cool. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that Classic launched that already. Okay, so you're going to
Mhm.
these meetings and there's like 25, 30 people, like not a ton of people there.
Well, that's most people don't understand. Everybody thinks an Ethereum Classic is a fork of Ethereum, but it's not. It's Ethereum. Ethereum is a fork of Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic is the original chain. You know what I mean? That's the original Ethereum, and they couldn't get along and whatever, and then they all went their own separate ways. You know what I mean? Like Charles Hawkinson was in there. You know what I mean? Vitalik. You know what I mean? All these guys were all part of the Ethereum team, but they couldn't get along, so they all branched out and did their own projects because they all had different visions. They're all like a bunch of people that are A-type personalities, and they all think their ideas are the best, and they all just basically went their own way. And that's kind of where we are today, right? You know, that's why we see a lot of these different ecosystems. So I get it. And then one of their major issues is they had was running node networks and mining farms. You know what I mean? So I was able. They're very electrical dependent. Well, I had access to all that stuff, and I could buy stuff, very large buying power. So, and I had people that had empty factories and warehouses that we could utilize to set this up. So, and for us, at that time, I didn't know anything about it, right? So I utilized what their knowledge they had with my knowledge for the electrical industry in order to set this up and make it functional. It was a benefit between both parties in order to accomplish the task. And then once I realized how profitable mining was, and as much as people say it's not very profitable and it's horrible and it hurts the environment, I can assure you it is very profitable. And if it wasn't, people wouldn't be running large mining farms to secure the network. So it's very profitable over a function of time. So yeah, and then right up until, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, I finally shut them all down and just got the hell out of Canada and came here. So
What a switch up. What a switch up. Canada to
yeah,
where you're living now. That's pretty going from centralized to a little less centralized, it feels like.
see, since I was in there and I was mining Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and you know what I mean, I was able to buy Bitcoin fairly cheap. As all these projects started forking off to each other, you know what I mean. A lot of my crypto I was able to get for free because it was all the, you know, if you held this token, you got that. If you held that token,
I tell people that all the time. Even if you just focus on crypto and got spare money together, you end up getting so many airdrops that you have a little leverage in the game.
You do, you know, and over the years, because I've been in it for so long, I've got all kinds of crypto bags that, you know, I probably even know some of the fucking free airdrops I still have kicking around somewhere, right? So,
something popped off, and you're like, "Damn, I didn't even see that pop up." Like,
yeah, exactly.
And like a whole community's built upon it. Like you're like, it's weird how communities can be isolated. And I'm not going to stay on this point, but like, it's funny. Like when people first learn about the Hex community, I'm like, how have you just learned about the Hex community if you've been in crypto? But that's the truth of the matter. It is the truth because people DM me all day long. On
well,
Instagram.
people are gonna experience this in the Pulse ecosystem because like there's already all kinds of projects. You know, if you sacrifice for this, you sacrifice for that. They're already talking about free airdrops. So you guys are gonna experience some of these things that I already went through back in the day, and we're gonna have a second opportunity, which is pretty unique. So, you know, embrace that and be part of it because, you know, sometimes some of those free airdrops, you never know, like can become a very profitable coin over a function of time.
Yeah, so you were talking about nodes and you were talking about mining. So you were running miners for Bitcoin or just Ethereum?
Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, mostly.
And were you also running nodes at the same time?
Yeah, so we'd set up our own mining nodes. So we'd point our miners, and at that time it was a lot easier because there was less large mining farms to compete to drive up the hash rate. But we were able to point our own miners at our own node network because we were able to deploy a few hundred nodes in there, right? And then we have a bit of a consensus, and then we basically point our nodes to our miners have a better chance of block reward, right? So to increase our probability of block reward. Because right now what happens is because the industry's kind of changed and it's grown exponentially since then, they have to do more mining pools. Basically what they do is they open a node, they basically point all their miners to that node, create a pool to create a certain amount of hash rate, and then that total hash rate that collectively gets put together mines block rewards, and they distribute that back out to the people based on the amount of hash that you're collectively adding as a percentage, right? But back then we deploy like 100 nodes, we have a consensus, we point all that stuff to our miners, right? So it would increase the chance of block rewards.
How, when you say point, I'm sure this is something technical, but it's very, very simple. But what is that? What are you doing right there? You're just telling your node to only pay attention to this miner,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pers-
We're just delegating. We're point. They're mining nodes. You know what I mean? And you kind of touched base with this one before.
Okay, so when I think about a node, I think of it as, and please elaborate more detail of this, but I think of it as kind of like a snapshot of the blockchain. And
It is the blockchain. It's a literally rolling function of the blockchain. So every time a new block gets added, it adds consensus to the network. You know what I mean? And the more nodes you run as a collective whole, the more consensus mechanisms, because all nodes have to agree on every transaction. So if one node or one miner does something funky, it's all the rest of them saying, wait a minute, here's a problem. So the less nodes you have monitoring it, the more probability of saying one person be able to do something nefarious. The more you have out there as an exponential function of scale, the more people say, hey, wait a minute, there's consensus. There's something weird happening here. Think about it as like an ant effect. Everybody's like thinking they're elephants. You know what I mean? We're big fucking elephants. We're freaking trashing down through the jungle. You know what I mean? They think they're real big and powerful. Think of that as a corporate entity. And then you look up and like, oh my God, it's so mysterious. They have so much power. They're so huge. But wait a minute here. Yeah, he may be huge and can do a lot of destruction and have a lot of force behind him. But you take an army of ants and it'll take down an elephant all day long. You take a beehive and it'll take down an elephant all day long. So it's the same function principle as a decentralized node network. You can have these large, giant corporate empires that act as elephants and think they're the biggest, strongest thing in the jungle. But if you really think about it, the little tiny ants that you can barely even see walking on the floor can take you out in a heartbeat. That you walk into a beehive where there's a million bees, it'll take you out in a heartbeat. So what's more powerful, the elephant or the bees? And if we start thinking in that mindset, but the problem is people for the last 80 years have been grown up to think that these things are more important. We've been taught this way in school.
And they're
to think
told
that way.
there's no abundance. They're told they're told. That's like huge to me because I wasn't taught that. Maybe that's the way I interacted with the things that I was around. But I was taught that even if I was smart, crafty, and a hustler, there's just not that much to go around. And now I know that is stupid as crap. There is just explosive amounts of excess in this world. And there's nobody that I want to ask you a question real quick because I got a super chat. And it's a question to you. Hold on real quick. Question to Frosty. Hey, checked out your profile and I enjoy your lifestyle. I see you were married prior. Could you explain the shift from your current woman to prior woman? The physical differences, and I'm guessing like how
was it a double D and then you went down?
And then like ended with like, but like how has it changed? How
It's like she likes wearing thongs, she does not.
how has your mind changed, and what have some of the how have you opened your mind a little bit? I guess that's probably the way to go about asking.
I've been married many times. It's not the first time. And if people want to fact check that and go scrubbing through my history and find a bunch of garbage, by all means, I'm not here to hide anything. So yeah, I've been married a few times, and actually we're not even divorced. We're still here. My wife, we're separated, and she lives here, and I was literally at her house last night. It's just we're at a different level where we can agree to disagree, and she can do her thing. Like, we don't need to hate each other, right? We don't need to go through the lawyer process and blow our lives up financially because we can't get along. At the end of the day, she does her thing, and she knows that I'm not a stupid person and I'm not going to be out to get her, that we still can have a functional part. And she takes a lot of the photography for these girls, you know what I mean? Because I put her through school for photography, social media marketing, you know what I mean? So she looks after some of that stuff for us, right? It's just because we don't get along as a personal level and see eye to eye because we've grown apart over time doesn't mean that we are bad people and we have to hate each other. You know what I mean? That's just a level of mentality.
Imagine. And I try to talk to the people in my life like this. I'm not in the same context as you. I've never been married or anything like this, but I'm working with Sam, or just like working in general, learning, I guess, and about just being honest with people. It's like it's way easier to be productive, like all stuff aside. Like it's just like a productivity thing for me. It's like I don't have time to be lying because it makes me think about other stuff. When I lie or when I say other things, it makes me think not about this.
Here's my thing. I don't care.
Yeah,
I do not care.
I don't want to.
I am not here to please other people. If people do not like me, they don't like my past, they don't like what I stand for, delete me.
cares?
Don't call me. Don't like. I don't care. I don't need you guys in my life. You know what I mean? I can live my life just fine without your crap. No offense, not you guys personally,
Me
but
and Sam
anybody
were
that
just saying
disagrees.
that.
You know what I mean?
Sam, I had a call
don't
with
care.
Sam about that too. Like earlier, I was like, at the end of the day, you have to put yourself in a position where if everyone leaves you, you're fine, and then you have ultimate power. What does Richard say all the time? You can't even send me money. Try to send me money. You can't. And I'm not saying that's everyone's situation, but it's like it's a great position to be in as a man because most men aren't in that position. They have to go to work and some dude who's more powerful than them in their little area is telling them to fucking suck their pee all day. Plain and simple. I hated it. I hated working for any other man. It sucked. And I got out of it as soon as I possibly fucking could. Because
People have got it in their heads with negativity. If you don't agree, you have to hate that person. You know what I mean? Like nobody can
ridiculous.
agree to disagree. You know what I mean? And they're all worried about their public image and what other people think of them, but they have no value in themselves and what they bring to the table. I know what my value is. I know what I can do, and I know what I can't do, and I can be honest about that. I know where my limitations are, and I'm not afraid to ask questions when I reach those limitations, right? So I'm humble enough in myself and say, you know what? I don't know enough about this. Hey, Bullish, can you help me with this? Because I am not as technical on the electronics side of things, like circuit board, freaking right into the details and weeds, because that's what he's done more time than I have. So why would I spend my time going down that rabbit hole? You know, I'm not an expert coder. You know what? I need help doing that. And I don't want to be an expert coder. You've spent your life doing it. I'll rely on your opinion to tell me how to do that, right? And this is just a much better way to live, you know, and people disagree with that. You just cut them out of your life. Vamos, adios, ciao.
And it doesn't matter who that person is. I tell this to my girlfriend or my mom or my siblings. Like I don't literally, I love you, but I couldn't care less what you think of like how I choose to live my life or the things that I say. It literally doesn't matter to me.
Especially if you're not bothering up on their shit.
Yeah, like I don't get it. I don't go onto your tweets and your streams and everything else and trash you. But you got to take time, effort out of your day to come over to try to bring me down and slam me. But it's like you're just wasting more of your time than mine because I don't give a crap who you are. Delete, bye, right? So whatever.
Well, there's an interesting quote I read recently, and it goes something along the lines of, "You can always tell what type of person you're talking to because whether it's an adult or a child, because children will make decisions based upon feelings and emotions where adults use logic or what's between their ears or something along those lines." And it's like makes a lot of sense because there's so many like children, metaphorically speaking, doesn't necessarily mean an age. It just means in terms of maturity out there that make decisions based upon their emotions or how they feel because somebody said something and they use their ego to respond instead of actually, using what's between the functioning gray matter between their ears.
I'm used to that because I'm always thinking outside the box. I'm always thinking different than the majority of people. So the natural byproduct of being in that environment and purposely putting myself in that environment where most people don't get it, they're like, oh, well, you're wrong because everybody else is doing this. That must be right. And I'm like, wait a minute. If that's so right and everybody else, and that's the consensus, how come they're not all rich and retired? So obviously that opinion and that consensus is wrong because otherwise 99% of the time it'd be right. But wait a minute here. It's not.
Well,
right?
Yes.
It's always if you listen to the majority, you get what the majority gets, which is usually little scraps. They get the scraps, and the people that move out of that region get the things that free thinkers and hard workers get because that's what it takes. You got to be thinking all the time. I'm sure there was a long times in your life where you weren't partying and doing stuff like that. You were learning and doing all that shit, but anyway, let's get back to some
nerd by trade.
Talk. That super chat got us on lifestyle talk, and the three of us all have very similar outlooks on its life. You just got to be honest about what you want, and if people don't like it, they can screw off. But so in general, let's get back to the node talk. I don't know where we exactly ended, but Sam kind of bring it back.
So you're saying with the node and the quantity of nodes with the analogy of ants or bees, is an extremely powerful mechanism when they're all working together, where one, individual going up against an elephant may, it's nothing. But when you have this consensus of nodes all working together to operate the network, then it's extremely, extremely powerful. And that's how you go through and dominate things. And it seems to be like, I don't know, but it seems to be that you have a different take or a different take on this relative to the community, or at least relative to what is happening in the ethos of crypto. Like maybe there's not enough nodes out there. How am I on that, first draft of what you're thinking about?
And again, I want to re-emphasize, this is not me or my idea. I am not reinventing this wheel at all. Okay, this was the original game plan of Satoshi and all the other networks, right? The vision of this was to launch a decentralized distributed ledger, ran and controlled by the people, right? And that was the original design. So the original design was for them to run a node in one single miner, okay, that everybody had the ability and could afford to do. But the problem was, like you hit the nail on the head a while ago, there was an incentive for miners, but there was never an incentive to run the node, right? So the whole thing got thrown out of whack. And it was like, Bitcoin can't be a payment rail, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually it can, and it was designed to do that. It was never the infrastructure was never rolled out, and we ended up morphing into this weird freaking centralized crap in order to make it happen, right? So, and now we are where we are, and people are complaining about security, tokens going down, anonymity, all kinds of different things. The peer-to-peer functions, because this was originally a peer-to-peer function. If 3 billion people ran one node and one miner, what's the collective computing power of 3 billion people running that like a beehive? It's more powerful than large centralized miners. Is it a large exponential cost to the individual to do it? No. Is it affordable for the individual to do it? Yes. This was the original plan and vision to roll this out. This is not mine. I'm not reinventing the wheel. And it's on all of their websites and gives you all the information and the benefits to you personally to run a single node and a collective group of nodes as a network. But people don't read this. And like you said, unless people are incentivized to do it as an individual basis, right? Then there's no incentive.
Is there any of that here with what you're getting into? So I'm understanding the nodes, and I still kind of I've understand the nodes from just a perspective of how they work. But tell me a little bit about the incentive structure. There's guys like me that would love to run a node if it helps stuff out. But 99% of people don't give a rat's
Is there a fly around your head,
or something on my head, bro? So where's the incentive with some of this stuff? I heard you could make money somehow by running nodes. Is it profitable at all?
It can be, yes.
Can you on a very high level? I want to talk about that. On a very high level, do you see a future or a possible future where there is just as many like that? Right now, it seems to be that there's not enough nodes, or there could be a great increase in the number of nodes per network, or a collaborative effect between a node that runs on multiple networks. Do you see a future where there's just a shitload more nodes out there, so that it is not almost the bottleneck, or it can reduce some of the risks before we dive into the money piece of on the individual incentive?
Well, again, let's go back to the beehive. Does one bee what can one bee accomplish on its own? You know what I mean? Right? How much honey can it collect on its own? Sure, you'll get a little bit here and a little bit there, but do you have security with one bee? No. Do you have security with more bees? Yes. Do they all collectively look after each other and operate as a whole? Yes. Is that more powerful? Yes. Is that more secure? Yes. So why are we thinking the problem with man is they think in scarcity. Scarcity is a byproduct of man. You know what I mean? The world is of abundance. Okay, you grow one tomato, and out of that one tomato, you'll get 1 million freaking seeds out of the one tomato to grow 1 million more plants. But on one tomato plant, you can grow 50 tomatoes. So you can grow 50 million more tomato plants from one tomato plant. Is that in a world of abundance or a world of scarcity? One fish does it lay one egg, or does it lay 500 eggs? Is that a world of scarcity or a world of abundance? The world naturally is operating and functions as a world of abundance. That's the law of nature. It's the way it works. I didn't make this up. I didn't make the rules. But people get it in their head that we live in a world of scarcity, and we need one powerful entity to make sure we're looked after and protected. Because they can't have self-responsibility, especially today. If something goes wrong that they make up, they need to point their finger at somebody else other than themselves, right? So as long as that mentality exists, and it's not like we haven't tried to roll this network out. Like we've literally created these type of boxes before for Ethereum Classic to roll out because it is the thing that requires it to work. The incentive structure there. Why? Because it's back end incentive structure. So if the three of us only had a cell phone, how valuable would the network be? Not very valuable. What would the functionality and use case would it be? Would there be an incentive to buy the cell phone if only three of us had it? No. Okay, so
unless they were really good friends with us. Yeah.
Right. So what are the opportunities that came out of having all these cell phones out there? How many more companies and dApps and apps were launched and business opportunities were created from having all these cell phones out? Has it not revolutionized the last 10, 15 years, 20 years? Has it not changed the way we live? But could any of that happen? Could any of those new business ventures or opportunities happen without the cell phone company like Motorola in the original day manufacturing, spending the time in the marketing, and then distributing these things out like Apple? How much money has Apple spent on creating these freaking phones, creating the software for these phones, and then getting them distributed out to the people? At what point did Apple become successful? Was it at the beginning, at the distribution phase, or after they distributed millions of these things around the world? It was after they distributed millions of these things around the world, created the back-end opportunity for all the other business ventures to pile on board. Right or no? Right? Because if they didn't have them...
Depends on how you judge success, but yes, I see the point. But yes.
Right? Without all those cell phones, all those other intermediary businesses, apps and dApps and everything else that are deployed in the Apple Store that are not directly related to Apple have the opportunity to deliver those. Why? Because the Node cell phone network was already largely distributed. The same thing is true in this, but in a financial aspect. So what's the front end code for the purpose of where's the benefit of running one? No. What's the essential of you three of us now running one node? Is there a huge incentive to it? No. Is there a huge incentive to just three of us owning a cell phone? No. Is there an incentive value for all the business opportunities to pile on board because we have 30,000 of these running out in our network? Yes. Does that create new business opportunities for the people in our ecosystem? Yes. Does it create a tangible real world bridge to create convenience factors from the digital world to the real world? Yes. Does that create an adoption? Yes.
Can you talk about all three of those things, like the adoption, the convenient factors, the benefits, because that is something that right, I've been in crypto for maybe 100 days. So I'm it doesn't make any sense for me to run a node. I understand it can add to the thing, but it's a cost to me, even though it's small. It's a cost to me to do this, and I don't see a tremendous amount of benefit. Plus, not only in terms of explicit cost, right? You got to buy Raspberry, but there's an implied cost of my time to set the shit up, and then there's no benefit to me.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to take that barrier to entry, and some hexagons in the community have teamed together because they understand this concept, and they're willing to take all their time, effort, and knowledge and pool that together for free for the benefit of this whole community, right? Nobody's making any money from this project. We're offering it to put it online as an open source, viewable thing to benefit the community, not as an individualism, right? To benefit the community. Like you said, where's the incentive for you to do it? Well, where's the incentive for you to buy an iPhone?
Well, because I get to make money with my iPhone.
Okay, right? So there you go.
Well, but how do you make money with a node?
How do you make money with your cell phone?
By using it for business purposes.
Okay, so why can't you use the decentralized node network that's deployed by the hexagons or whatever in the community, right? So when you get paid, how do you get paid?
For what do you mean?
Well, when you do business on your cell phone, you got to get paid somehow.
So they could pay me through crypto. They could pay me through here. They could pay me through my bank account.
Through what? A centralized entity?
Yep, or through crypto.
Okay, how about you get paid through a decentralized
Mhm.
decentralized network? Is that not
Yep.
more secure? Is that not more robust? Is the liquidity not more
So, but
deeper?
why? How is I don't know about the liquidity, but how is that adding to like the value for me to run the node, other than the learning opportunity of going through and setting it up, right? Because everything we do is a learning opportunity, so that's valuable in one sense. But you're going to expound upon more value pieces on, I'm sure.
Okay, let's say you want to sell hex. Where do you sell hex?
Adapt.
You go to a DEX, adapt, right?
Yep.
And then does that directly impact the price of hex?
Depends on how much I'm selling.
Okay. So what happens if we connected all the buyers and sellers through the decentralized node network, right? Would that affect the price of hex?
Depends on how much you're selling.
No, it wouldn't, because you're directly connecting buyer to seller. That means there's no impact on price. It doesn't even affect the chart. Is that better for the ecosystem or worse for the ecosystem?
So can you talk about that? So you're effectively trying to.
You're not pulling from the liquidity at all. You're just
Right. So instead of supplying a large amount of liquidity on the DEX that impacts the price, what if everybody they wanted to sell $50? But what if there's 20,000 people that
pretty
supplied and put it to the liquidity pool and said, do we want to sell it? And we have one guy that wants to buy $50,000. Okay. Now it can basically pull the $50, $100, $25, $10 from here and collectively create that without ever negatively impacting the price. Is that beneficial?
Wouldn't you think it's still going to impact the price depending on the volume?
It can't impact the price because you're not interacting with the chain. You're interacting with a completely different liquidity pool. So there is no negative
it's
impact
like
on
if
price.
you gave me cash for
But then if that all goes away.
Okay, let's think about this. Were you part of Napster back in the day?
Yes.
Okay, so when you downloaded a song from Napster, did it get pulled from one computer or through 1,000 computers?
I think it depended on how I set it up, right?
So really, you downloaded a fraction of a song, right, from many different people to create a whole. That was a decentralized node network. Okay, so how did that change the music industry? Revolutionized it. Right? That was a decentralized node network. Did it make change? Yes. Now, cell phones are nodes. They are physically the definition of a node.
You're seeing a different. You're trying to compare, and I'm trying to understand, right? Because you're comparing something that is not fungible, right? That you can't just make but you're not just making copies of hex, right? In the example of hex, right? You're not just increasing the quantity of hex by torrenting from 50,000 people, right? To pull little bits and pieces to create additional copies of hex, right? So where can you talk about that to explain that?
I don't know how to make it any more clear other than the Napster effect and the cell phone effect, right?
With Napster, you can just create infinite number of copies of something, correct?
Yeah, but we're not copying anything, like, because we don't have no interaction with directly contract, because the contract is essentially, so right now, like, everybody deploys software, right? When you deploy software, the software gets downloaded on your phone. Why is hex unique? Right? Because the software, tangible action software, is deployed in the EVM, right? And then you just have a website front end communicate with the EVM, right? So if we had a large enough freaking node network, right, and people wanted to deploy a new functional type of dApp, they deploy the software in the EVM, and then you have a direct inbound message from your personal node to whatever that contract is. Is that more secure? Yes, it's literally piggybacking off why hex works, and it's why Ethereum chain was made the way it was. Because Ethereum can run a programmable, tangible action to make it function in the real world, right? It's not just for a financial. You can run you can run any program software in an EVM, right? Inside the Ethereum blockchain, and you will be able to do the same thing inside Pulse. But right now, every time you got to interact with any one of those things, you have to go through somebody's centralized server to make that interaction. You've got so many middlemen, intermediaries scrubbing information in between that you guys don't even realize, because the majority of them are on AWS servers. And the ones that are actually running the nodes and deploying them are centralized companies that have back-end shit programmed in there to take data feedback. That's never the way this was designed to run.
Can you explain, because there's I don't have the knowledge around this. Okay, so you're with the node network is going to be, you have an EVM, which is
The EVM is the Ethereum blockchain. The EVM is the Pulse chain. It's a smart contract, right? That is the physical chain is the Ethereum is the EVM. We're not creating anything new. Like I said, we're not reinventing no wheels.
and then the, you know, say Uniswap, right? That's the DApp that's built on top of that. That the nodes would does the node interact with the EVM, or does
it just interacts with the chain. It's just a direct link to the chain. It's a direct.
Okay.
So
So by going through like the like Ethereum, I'm sorry, like Uniswap, there's that can be thought of as a conceptually for myself as a centralized thing that's going to obviously extract some type of value, right?
Right.
Where,
So
where you're describing
where's that software deployed? Well, it's a web-based software running on a server. Well, it doesn't need to run that way, right? That same DEX can run and it'd be interactable and deployed in the EVM, right, inside the blockchain, like Hex contract. It's in a box, right?
So-
You've heard
so-
Richard say that many times.
So PulseX effectively could just be part of Pulse. Is that
Well, they could deploy, Pulse X could deploy that right in with a large enough node network, right? Deploy that contract in the EVM inside the smart contract in a box, right? Unless you're hacking the chain, which has never been done, right? Because it'll never be done because the consensus network of the network, right? If anything hacks the chain, the node network says, hey, somebody's trying to hack the chain, right? And the more nodes you have, the more people watching the chain to see, hey, if there's a problem, right? So if you deploy the software in the chain, in a box, like that Hex contract is, and you have a large enough network, you have all these people watching, and the consensus mechanism saying, hey, there's no problem, right? And then everybody has a node on their desk. Instead of outbounding that message to a server, to a centralized company to say, hey, yeah, we can do that, it goes from your node to the chain and says, hey, yes. So now you've extremely reduced the attack surface area of going through all these intermediaries from a security point of view, because they have to hack you individually from the node on your desk or from your functional computer or cell phone or whatever you're using to your node directly to the chain. And the probability on that on scale is reduced on an exponentially
yes.
for every node deployed. So every more node deployed exponentially reduces the risk of the attack surface area from the function of an entire beehive. Because sure, can you get to 1B? Maybe. Can you get to 2, 3? Maybe. Are you going to get to 10 million of them? Not a freaking hope in hell.
That's
right?
So no, this is fascinating, and I love this. Is there what do you see as the bottleneck on the either hardware side or the software side? Because
there's no bottleneck. There's more than enough smart enough developers. We've got manufacturers on scale. We can buy the hardware right from the OEM. You know what I mean? We don't need to go to a third party. So there's these things actually exist right now where you can run multiple nodes. Hang on. You can run multiple nodes. You can buy this box right now. I'll send you the link. You can buy it. But it's $6,000, $7,000, $3,000 to $7,000. Okay. Why don't we just recreate it, add some more benefited features, expand on it, bulk buy it, and distribute it to ourselves for cheaper? There's the exact same thing I'm talking about. And if everybody just wants to go spend $7,000 or $3,000 to $7,000 to buy this thing, go ahead. Go ahead. But what I'm saying is,
but none of those features. None of those features, right? Like these things don't have those things that you're capable of, right?
Yes, hang on. Bullish, can you pull up that picture that you deployed where they had the fancy front end screen with all the dApps on it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll look it up. Yep, I'll look it up.
Thank you.
So what happens is if you think of when you interact with this node, right now it's very complicated, right? Like if you were to download a node and everything else and run it, you got to run scripts. You got to basically run a script to tell it to do a tangible action, right? But what Billish and I are talking about, taking some brand ends, instead of having a web-based front end, we build in a front end on every node, right? So now you're not communicating with a server, but on a large distributed network, It acts as a large server, right? And that front end is less likely to be attacked or have bugs in it, right? And we can create consensus on it if anything happens to it, right? Because you have 1,000 bees watching to make sure that front end doesn't get compromised. But it's in a very fancy little dApp. You basically plug it in, you interact with it, and then now you have all these little dApps like you have on your cell phone where it's point and click to create that direct interaction with the node. Right?
I love that. No, I love this. This is awesome. If
right?
What you're saying, yes, no, this is fucking amazing.
So, but then now the business opportunities that come out for the people in our ecosystem are endless because we can create all kinds of different apps and opportunities that create real world solvable problems that maybe that we haven't thought about yet. Just like creating a new app on your phone. Hey, this new app is great. And I'll give you an idea of a dApp that we're kind of thinking about. It's an NFT dApp to download music. So the artists, we've got lots of artists here in Latin America and some other ones that we're working around the world, right? That we're talking about creating an app, right? So you can download it like a Spotify, right? But you basically pay like a monthly fee, but some of that money actually goes back to the artist because you can put the song on the thing right now, right? If the artist doesn't get paid. But what happens if we have all these great artists that are in our community right now creating music, which we have? We can create a dApp, put it on there, we can interact with it, right? And then they can friggin' pay the fee just like you would for Spotify or anything else. And then now that directly goes back and creates help for people in the Hex community to do in music, right? But now that can be a direct interaction and it's a dApp on your phone and it can be a dApp because whether you, that little block, it can be like an app that we can download on your phone that interacts with it, or it can be on your computer where it interacts with it, but it's directly to your node, right? That can be deployed in an EVM, in a box, in the chain, and directly inbound messages right to the chain with no attack surface area.
What about that first idea? Because NFT stuff and music is not super interesting to me. I know there's a lot of people that love
it's
that
just an example, but there's
correct. I agree.
The use cases are endless. So let's say you want to automate your house, right? There's another little box that has relays on it. You can create monitoring to it, deploy the software in a monitoring contract. Somebody can create a monitoring business, right? They pay them a fee. You've already got the node. You plug in this extra little box, and all that gets monitored and stored in the chain. Now you have a permanent record of it, right? It can be useful. You can turn your lights on and off for everywhere in the world. Now you're not utilized. They have the same thing now, but it's ran by Google, Alexa, some third party. That's a node. That's a node, less secure. You have other software companies, intermediaries having direct access to your information that happens on your house, your property, everything that happens in your daily life. Somebody listening to your conversation through an Alexa. And Alexa is a node. Alexa is the definition of node. 1 million people deploy Alexa all the way around the world, gathers information, and then collectively puts that collective information back to the world as a whole. But without deploying that Alexa, there's no value. But the problem with that is that's all going through a third-party intermediary software company that's profiting and data collecting our shit. And that's what everybody wants to get away from. So I'm literally giving you the solution on a silver platter to get away from all of that financially, right? With your decentralized node network. And this is how it can be done. But it cannot be done and it will not function unless it gets deployed on scale. That's the problem, because there is no incentive on an individual basis to do it. But there is an incentive on scale for the convenience factor and the utility it brings to the convenience of your day-to-day life and the business opportunities it can bring to you in your day-to-day life that it does not have unless you have that cell phone.
No, I think this is awesome. This is fantastic. This could be that step, right? There's a reason. There's a reason it hasn't been deployed in crypto, and it's been deployed by Google and Amazon and all these other companies because all the fucking money up front that needs to be put forth to be able to put all these nodes in place. So I love this. It's
infrastructure. It's infrastructure, and somebody had to pay for it. Somebody had to take the initiative, and somebody had to do it. Well, that's what we're doing. The only thing is we got to get people's heads around that's a back end function. It's a back end value prop, not a front end. Right? Just like I talked about our cell phone. The three of us own a cell phone. There's no value prop. No value prop at all. There's no incentive to buy it. What's the incentive for all of us to buy a cell phone? It's the back end peer-to-peer capabilities it brings to the table.
connects you to the ability
So
to.
can you talk about this thing you're working on? Share some of the information because I mean I don't know about GRC, but I think this is fucking amazing. Like this
Yeah,
is
I'm getting a little bit priced out of the conversation a little bit, if you know what I mean.
well effectively, right?
I've just been answering a lot of things, but no, I know where you're coming from with the back end stuff. It makes that part makes perfect sense to me. Like when he was talking about the function and how you could basically get away from the decks for the most part. Like he was talking about getting away from the decks. What do we see the giant problem with? We watched Celsius live do an absolute short squeeze yesterday. Like, and I mean, at a baseline, like those guys have a lot of power within those systems where guys with small amounts of money just get,
That's the thing. That's the thing. Everybody thinks large. They think like elephants. They all think they're freaking elephants. Okay, what's more powerful? Some guy with $100,000 or $1 million? That's your elephant. Okay, everybody's chasing elephants. What's more powerful? The guy with that or 1 million people with $100? What's more easily onboarded? 1 million people with $100 or searching for the one guy that you need to convince to put $1 million in? Okay, what's the likelihood and probability that guy dumping on your head and negatively impacting the price? From the law of large numbers, what's the percentage of 1 million people going to liquidate that $100 simultaneously? It exponentially decreases the risk. See what I'm saying? So when we're talking about adoption, when we're talking about going after these things, we got to understand the value prop, like all these large corporations. What are they chasing? Are they chasing other large corporations to fund their projects? No, they're directly targeting the ants, the majority of the population. All these Fortune 500 companies, are they chasing other Fortune 500 companies as their value prop? No, they're trying to incentivize people, all the people around the world, to get one of these things in your hand one way or another, shape or form at whatever cost. And even if they got to give it to you for virtually free, they will deploy it to you. Why? Is there more value in the masses or more value in the corporate 500? And this is why I don't understand people's mindsets when they come to building business models. They're completely ass fucking backwards. The value prop lies in, and you can see it in your day-to-day. If you just step back and take a macro look of the way the world functions, think about your corporate 500 companies. McDonald's, Google, Huawei, Apple, Samsung. Who's their target market? Is Samsung targeting Apple and Apple targeting Samsung to deploy and sell their product to? No. Are they trying to target the bees, the ants, or the elephants? It's the ants.
There's much more ants. I feel like the people in crypto generally have that, like, I need to get my attitude. Like, I need to get mine, and this little community is helping me out, so let's all get it going over here. But it's not as when me and Sam talk about adoption all the time, and when things explode, you just need to have your stuff in order.
There's a beautiful picture of something that we're looking to do. You pop it up. You've got a screen full of dApps that you have directly interact that can create tangible functions directly from your node right to the chains. But not just one chain. My proposition is let's put multiple chains, right? Some multiple secure chains to open up the user and functionality amongst the whole to maximize the convenience factor in the peer-to-peer function. Whether we agree with Bitcoin or we don't agree, we agree with freaking this, we agree with that, who cares? But on a collective whole, it opens up a peer-to-peer function through very good, stable, long-lasting chains over a function of time that we can create an interoperability convenience factors amongst ourselves to make our day-to-day lives not more secure, more robust, more convenience factors, more tangible ability for adoption, right? Because we can bridge the adoption with people that want to launch dApps on that thing, which they'll have the ability to do, to like launching an app on a cell phone. Somebody will come out with a great idea to make everybody's life function easier. They can deploy it on that freaking front end, put it inside the Pulse chain or the freaking Ethereum smart contract. So then the software is secured. Nobody's going to hack that software. And then it directly creates a web-based front end and is localized, communicated from your node to there, maximizing security and minimizing the risk of hack. Isn't that more secure than what we have right now? Yes. Is it more convenient? Yes. Does it open up the bridge for tangible actions to create new business ventures? Yes. New business ventures. Does that create adoption? Yes. Okay, so these are all positive, negative, positive spin-off after effect effects that can happen for our ecosystem. So is it beneficial for the ecosystem, for the price, for the rate of adoption, for security? Yes. And am I reinventing the wheel on this? No. This shit's been around. The only difference is we're instead of Apple and Samsung taking advantage of this, it's us as an individual basis working together to take back what? To control the very thing that we all fucking bitch about on every freaking stream and how much we hate. Okay, well, here's the fucking solution, people.
So where is the simplest thing where the value, right? Because the concept that you're talking about is beautiful. Like I love it, but there's
Do
a
we just
time
need a
where there was
fuckload
only
of money? Do we need a fuckload of funding for it? Is that kind of like?
Well, yeah. So basically, what the concept was that we talked about, in order to drive down the price to make these things more affordable for the average Hexan, or we could just go out and we could all agree to go spend $7,000 and do that, but we won't. We're limited to who wrote that software, right? For that front end, you know what I mean? Somebody that's going to be looked after by some third-party company that already did that, right? So why don't we, when we have Hexicans that are invested in the community, right, like Bullish and other people that are there that are invested and have the best interest of the community, what's the likelihood of somebody doing something nefarious when they're all offering it their time, a group set of people to do it for free, right? The benefit of doing that, because yes, the real world shit needs to be paid for. Circuit boards need to be paid for, hard drives need to be paid for, RAM needs to be paid for, the box needs to be paid for. But if we can buy that and we make an initial deployment of what we could say an agreement of 20,000, now instead of buying through a third-party intermediary, we have a bulk buying price and we can go directly to the OEM. I can go directly to Samsung in China and say, look, I need 50,000 freaking chunks of RAM. They will sell to me at that volume. That exponentially drives the cost down, therefore increasing the amount of buyer power and technology that we can buy to make this thing more faster, more robust, and more scalable over a function of time, and keep it so we get better technology, faster technology, cheaper for future scalability, which is only in the best interest of the Hexagon.
But where's that piece for the individual, right? Because you're talking about going to the masses, right? And to the masses, you're not going to.
There is none.
Correct. So where is the lowest barrier to entry where there can be enough value prop that allows people to see that? Because otherwise, that what you're talking about is a cool idea. It's awesome, but like it's just not going to happen unless it's either for free or incentives are changed, or there's an app on the node, right, that allows them to do this.
Or we have $5 billion.
There's none. There's none.
It's like the easier, softer way to me just seems like raising money.
Yeah. So basically, what we suggested is to create an NFT. People buy the NFT. We're going to put together a spec. We're going to price out the spec, figure out the average cost of that, including shipping. We're going to sell a freaking NFT. We're going to put that on a website into an account so people can see exactly how much money in there. We will post the companies that we were buying stuff, post the price that we have on there. You know what I mean? This will open up other forms of people that are in the ecosystem that may know more people to be able to buy things better from different distributors. You know what I mean? That can offer more things. You know what I mean? That's only a network effect, right? And once we get consensus, okay, here it is. We'll get them manufactured out of a place out of China or South Africa, and then we'll ship them out. Partly, the other part of that will be when you buy that NFT will be a part of a DAO. So that means you will have voting rights for that NFT. So if new companies and new projects and more people want to deploy on that node network as it grows over the future, people can vote on that to make sure it's in the best interest of the ecosystem, that we don't get nefarious actors that want to just deploy shit on our software and our ecosystem just because we can, right? So that's maximum amount of protection. That's the maximum amount of security for us all on multiple different chains. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Pulse, all of that. That's all in our best interest. Why? Because it maximizes their security and takes the control out of the very people that we are talking about. Right?
It also is, I see a world where layer ones are not really super important because if you try to explain to your mother that like, oh yeah, you want to buy Hex, you need to buy Ethereum to buy Hex because the shit works that way.
Layer ones are extremely important, especially depending on the level of security you want, right? And as much as proof of stake is great, proof of stake comes at a sacrifice of security. right? Because why? You're centralizing the validator nodes, because people have to put in X amount of dollars in order to be able to purchase the validating nodes. In a long-term way around, you're still allowing people with a validator node, and who has the most money? The people in control. So now those are the people that are going to delegate. But if we have a decentralized node network, we no longer have to rely on the majority person having the validator node, because now on a collective whole, like a beehive, everybody can afford $100, but maybe people may not be able to create $100,000 or $1 million. But collectively, between 100,000 people, raising $1 million is how much? $100.
So what cool apps could be deployed?
They're endless. They're endless.
But something that you could get deployed immediately to actually give the value of this to people, to start opening Pandora's box to
an OTC
this
desk.
world.
An OTC desk, right? A direct peer-to-peer OTC desk, which already exists, by the way. If people clicked in hexotc.com, I believe it is, that exists, and it's been around for a while. Connecting buyers to sellers through a smart contract. That's existed since day Hex launched. So why people are freaking going through the decks to connect buyers and sellers to negatively impact the price is beyond me, right? If you want to sell it, why would you not list it on the hexotc.com? Now you're selling your hex, you're getting your money you want. There's no slippage, right? There's no function of slippage. The fees are less. There's basically virtually no fees for that, except for a very small fee for the transaction to happen, right? The gas to be paid for it, right? So there's no slippage, and then you connect the buyer right to a seller. There's no negative impact on price.
What
None.
Have you thought about deploying that on the nodes to start with?
Yes, for sure. Why? Because it already exists. We just take the original thing, put it in an EVM, and put it in a box, put a front end node on it, connects buyers to sellers. Done.
And that could cross that barrier that we were talking about. That
sure does,
type of thing could cross that barrier. That allows people, because otherwise the conceptual ideas of this helps the network and this, that, I don't give a shit. I don't have a lot of money, right? I don't have the same.
Do you own crypto? Do you own crypto?
Relative to my wealth, crypto's this.
Okay. Do you plan on investing more crypto
Correct.
over a function
I
of
do.
two?
I do.
Okay. So then where are all these things deployed? Majority of these nodes are for Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, I don't care what it is. You go and you can look at their nodes and who owns them. This is all free information. Go on to Ether node and you can look how many nodes are running, how many have gone online, who owns them, where's their IP address, what corporations they are, okay? Where they're actually being ran. Are they decentralized or on a server? Okay, and if you look at the majority of those nodes, they're all on AWS in the US. Is that a single point of failure? It's a massive single point of failure. Is it subject to government regulation and law? They can basically come in and say, hey, shut all your shit off. The whole entire crypto industry would flatline like a Luna tomorrow. If the government decided, or Amazon decided, fuck you, we're shutting this shit off. Every fucking thing with Luna, boom, to the floor. Bitcoin,
Correct.
Ethereum, everything.
So, but what you just described, somebody has to have a large enough bag in crypto to give a shit about it.
That's not, they don't.
I don't
they
agree.
Don't.
I don't
We're
agree with that at
transferring.
all.
We're transferring.
Some people give I mean, you got to give a little benefit of the doubt that some people are not robots. Like, you know, they.
No,
I don't have a large amount of money staked in this.
A lot of people would not run a node.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't.
Okay, but how much
Bitcoin.
is your cell phone?
99.9% of people aren't smart enough to buy Bitcoin. So we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the dudes with $100 billion that could invest in this. Okay, like I mean, you can't nitpick everything.
No, correct. But what is Frosty talking about? Not those.
I know
people.
he's talking about going everywhere, but you could still get funded to go everywhere.
Yes,
we don't even
but
need to
you
get
still
funded.
have to have people.
Well, you know what I
to
mean.
do
Funded
these
as far
things.
as like having outsourced way of making the money.
Well, the thing is, like, is it? How much did you pay for your cell phone?
$1,100.
Okay, so why did you spend $1,100 on your cell phone?
I don't.
You literally bought the node from Apple, Samsung. You spent $1,100 to buy the node from Samsung.
Speedy. I thought it might be Speedy. I don't know. It's the newest one. The camera was nice.
Whatever. Okay, exactly. So why? Because it added real world, tangible convenience to your life. So why would you want not that same convenience that you spent $1,100 out of your pocket
I would
for
love to be able to send
to
myself.
supply that same decentralized convenience factor to your financial life?
No, correct. But that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. That I think needs to be developed in conjunction with this to get the masses to actually want to do something like
Well,
this.
this is exactly what we're doing. We're
This is
deploying
dope.
this.
This is awesome.
Right? And what will happen is maybe we will not get 20,000 of them out deployed in the first day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
if
we get 3,000 or 1,000 of these things already out, right? And we can get 1,000 hexagons, then we can start showing people the convenience factor. And that's the only point in which they're going to get this through this head. Because I could literally talk in the stream for like 7 days or friggin' the rest of my natural life, and they ain't going to get it.
But that's
right?
what that.
So
but they're talking about the wrong thing, right? Because you need to talk about, if you want the masses to, you got to talk about shit that they care about. You just described, what do they care about? They don't care about the other shit you're talking about. They care about the convenience to them.
How many apps is there? Can I sit here and speculate how many apps that are on the Apple iPhone?
Not even close.
Okay, well, that's asking me the same thing. How many apps could be deployed on the Node network to make your life convenient? I don't know. They're endless. Endless. Endless.
Coming out with like 1 or 2 dope things, right? How many apps does Apple have or Google have? They have a boatload of apps just themselves. So even if when Apple came out and they had 7 apps or 12 apps or whatever the fuck it was.
Well, right now, if we deployed this, we'd have like Liquid Loans, Power City, all of these guys, they want to deploy the same stuff, right? They're literally working. I have a 7-hour conversation with Power City. They're like, yeah, that'd be freaking great. You know, I even posted it. I posted this on my Twitter. Please go look at it. This is the most secure, most convenient way, but it has limitations. What is the limitations? Getting it to the people and scalability. That's the limiting factor. That is the #1 limiting factor in the entire crypto industry. And I posted it right from, I believe it was from Ethereum. From the Ethereum page. And I even highlighted it. Right there. What does it say? Somebody please read that. That is the number. They listed them in order of the #1 problems. #1 problem, #2 problem, #3 problem. What does it say the #1 problem is right directly from their website?
I think I mentioned this yesterday. I read this. And
read it out loud?
Yeah, it says peer-to-peer. Hold on, I gotta zoom in a little bit for me. Peer-to-peer involvement in blockchain also comes with limitations. Yeah, because blockchain tech isn't the best in some certain ways. One of the most significant disadvantages is the requirement of computing power. This is because there is no central server, and each node acts as both client and server. There is no doubt that by using this approach, there is improved security and efficiency. Still, it comes with drawbacks such as lack of widespread adoption and scalability. But what do guys like me know about adoption and scalability? All you got to do is take your shirt off and have some chicks around you and say you're selling some bullshit. That's all that fucking matters. Doesn't matter how many nickels and dimes people are going to make from the thing. Nobody cares. At least I don't. I never have, and I've never had that much money. People just want whatever's cool. And if you can market it to them in a cool way, however that is, however creative you'd have to get to go down that avenue where you're just marketing that, it is a very nuanced.
On that thing that Jesse just read through, it said that the node acts as something plus the server, and you had mentioned several minutes ago that the nodes are actually working off of AWS as the server, if my understanding is correct. So how is there a different, the structure of the node is going to be different from what you're talking about? Why is AWS cut out versus right now it's a lot on AWS as the server?
Scalability. Nobody's deployed them. Nobody's physically deployed them. Nobody's running them.
So
what's
there's
Bitcoin running?
One type of node?
So think about this. What is 10,000 nodes running the entire Bitcoin network? 10,000, which are mostly on a centralized fucking server? What is there? 65, 67, 6,000-ish plus or minus nodes on a given day running an entire Ethereum network for how many people are using it? If that isn't a central point of failure that I don't even know, and not even a central point of failure, the fact that the companies that are interacting with the nodes that are deployed, because the companies deploy the node, and then the companies making a thing like an inferior and force you to go through their system to ask permission for you to do it. And on top of that, they got all kinds of data scrubbers on there collecting your shit at the same time. Why would you want that? Why do you want to go to a company like Infura, which is basically the number one? And yes, there are many other ones that are there. But my point is, they're still owned by other and ran and operated by other companies. Why do we want to do that when we can just do it ourselves? Is my point.
What can for a selfish what is? Can you talk about just a little bit context? What is Infura?
It's just a node. It's a node.
It's a brand of nodes or something like that.
It's a node that's owned by a corporate entity. That's it.
And you just buy them and you put them on their network?
They own it. They own it. They deployed the nodes and they basically pay AWS to spool them up, right? Because it takes up space. They deploy along. They basically run a full node chain, and then they make you point your thing through MetaMask to their node.
And why are these nodes have to go through AWS, but the nodes you're describing don't have to go through AWS?
Because it's the same chain. It's the same blockchain. Ethereum is Ethereum. Whether you point it at Infura's node running the same full node blockchain, or you run it through our full node blockchain, it's just a decision of where you want to go.
But why does one have to go through? And this is for me. I'm just missing
scalability, because there is no physical nodes. There's no nodes out there.
Questions.
There's no nodes. There's no nodes on scale. There is no nodes on scale. I just said there's only 6,700 nodes in the whole world running the Ethereum network.
That's pretty crazy. I want to just highlight that point for 1 second.
Go to googleethernode.com, I think it is.
Bullish, can you find that?
Crypto curricula real quick. Frosty, when I'm a professor, I will run workshops to help students learn how to set up the node and even appropriate department funds to purchasing units. And I will make YouTube videos. I'm getting better. I'm going to be getting better at making YouTube content too. I'm doing live streams right now because I'm still kind of like getting used to it. So like, I would love to make videos. Was
that a statement from Sony? So I kind of missed some of that.
Yeah, basically he said crypto curricula is becoming a professor, and he said he would love to teach people how to, basically help you and help all of us set up nodes just by educating the public and stuff like. Basically, he's saying he could help on the force of education because at the end of the day, that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, it's an educational barrier.
If those Fortnite guys get in here,
right there's a breakdown of mainnet nodes. How many are running and who they're running?
Let me look at this. Let me look at this real quick. I'm gonna zoom in.
So there's a total of 5,800.
5,881 nodes. You're telling me right now the entire Ethereum network.
Yeah,
I feel like, and that's why when you're saying like scalability, the numbers are still really low. So we have a lot of room to work here.
Especially with the number of
room to work.
But they're basically all in New York City.
Dude, we could three of us.
No
together,
shit.
Even if we didn't have anyone, we could just talk to motherfuckers about this shit. Get 5,000 rolling.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Tell me that's not. Who owns that? Scale in that. See, this is the information that everybody has. And then you go, wait a minute here. All my shit that I'm pointing to through every MetaMask transaction is like, who the fuck owns this shit? Right? And you scale out to the number of the world.
He's near my crib. That could be me.
Exactly. You see the problem?
Yeah, no, I completely see it. I think this is awesome highlighting this. I really appreciate it.
I love how the numbers are still low, so we feel like we can still punch really hard.
I'm telling you right now, the Hex ecosystem is one of the only communities that I've been able to be a part of that could actually pull this off. Right? And if there's literally 100,000, this would be the largest decentralized node network deployed in crypto history in our ecosystem. And if that isn't a shining light in the hell, it's putting a freaking shining light on the Hex community for all the gatekeeping held in the world, that we could pull off something not any other chain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, none of them could ever deploy in the history of blockchain. We will set a new precedent.
Can you explain to me what is there nodes for every single? So Hex has nodes, but also Ethereum has nodes.
There is not a blockchain that does not run a node, not one.
Can you see how many nodes are on Hex?
It's not necessarily Hex. It's more like how many are Ethereum. But
exactly
to the point you were mentioning before,
Hex is secured by Ethereum because it's in an Ethereum smart contract. So all you Hexicans out there think this has no value prop because this is Ethereum. Guess where the code is? It's in Ethereum. So Hex is literally subject to the 5,800 nodes and basically the two main companies on two different continents that are securing it.
And here's the point you were mentioning before. 68.22% of the nodes are on hosting, AWS, etc.
So that's what I'm trying to grasp. That's what I'm trying to grasp. That like
68%.
Why?
What?
If I'm doing a node, why would I go through AWS versus
Bullish? Help me out on this.
It seems like they all control it.
So
Bullish. They do control it.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm trying to sell you.
The reason why you wouldn't want it on like AWS is because if AWS goes down, the nodes also.
No,
go
I
down.
understand that, but why is there so much on there? Why is what Frosty is saying going to eliminate this? This is what I'm not
all right,
seeing.
So from all right, I get where you're going. So for example, this is the way I think about it. So Infura, which is a corporation, right? They have incentive to data collect everything that's going on throughout the nodes. They can use that information and front run us and do all kinds of stuff with that.
Exactly.
So for them, they're incentivized. You know, for all we know, they can be paying MetaMask to be the default.
They are
network. You know what I mean?
They are.
But I still don't understand why are nodes on AWS versus why you.
Okay, so from a
describe
technical
them
standpoint, from a technical standpoint, I get what you're saying. It's just very easy to just go and spin it up on AWS. The same way it's easy for me to spin it up on a Raspberry Pi, for example, or a spare machine. It's just you just have a corporation with a guy like a David Feder who can go and spin up thousands of nodes, across AWS, across different regions, and now you have a network within a network.
So why aren't
the infrastructure is there already? The hardware infrastructure is there just to go and deploy it.
So
right. So if you go back,
nodes are not capable of running a server themselves today.
They are a server.
They are a server.
So
it's just
why are they on Amazon server though?
Because it's just virtualized. It's just virtualized.
Meaning.
It's a data server and on
hang on, go back
server,
to that post. Hang on. Go back to that post. I put it on Twitter.
Give me a sec.
Because I'm trying to grasp why they're like that way versus you're describing having a node be its own server.
So this is the way
it is.
It is a server. It is.
So
a server.
So then
if
let's take that for what it is, right? You're saying that a node is a server. Then why are they using Amazon? Then why are they using Amazon server?
Scalability.
So what is that? Why is that not? Why am I not grasping that? If you're saying this is a server, you just need this to grasp it, and this is a server. What does Amazon scalability have to do with that? If you're plugging into a fucking network,
Amazon is still a centralized. Amazon is a centralized entity.
But what do you need the hardware for if it's already a server?
Well,
yeah, you just have a disconnect between software and hardware. That's all it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So my whole thing is like, they always mention Hex is 100% uptime, and I actually mentioned this a couple episodes ago, right? And I always mention like Hex has 100% uptime right now.
For now.
Because its uptime is reliant. And then I ask
on 5,800 nodes.
Right. I tell people right after they post that, because people just regurgitate that shit all the time, and then I post right under it. I say, what's Ethereum's uptime?
Pull back that bullish. Pull up back that chart of the nodes.
You want the chart of the nodes? So
from Ethernode.
Real quick, guys, I'm going on with Whales Only, talking about UDD tonight, and I'm talking about Celsius, and I'm talking about the Macro Nightmare tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Whales Only. Crypto in the evening.
Go ahead, Frosty.
So how do you get away from things like that stuff to help with go against Celsius and what happened with Luna? Right here, more notes, more ants watching it, and anybody that thinks that Hex is immutable from this, Hex is literally deployed in Ethereum, being secured by and the transactions. Every time you do a transaction for a Hex and you interact with that, somewhere it's going through one of these 5,800 nodes. Somewhere. This is a single point of failure as well for the Hex community. It is a problem. And it just showed that the 68% of them are on Amazon web server. So from a Hex community, is this not a problem for the Hex community? Abso-freaking-lutely it is. It's a massive central point of failure. So are we immune from this? No, we are not. And I'm trying to scream this from the hill and the rooftops, saying, hey, if we want to be truly secure, let's bring the power back into our ecosystem. What's it going to cost us? $500, $600, $700, depending on the type of node we can buy, just like you all buy a cell phone, to make sure that we're not doing this exact single point of failure, because we take the control back to ourselves. We can create the consensus mechanism to say, hey, there's 100 more thousand Bs saying no to your 5800. You motherfuckers are trying to screw up on shit.
And like for context, essentially the investment and and as we develop it, because we're figuring out ways to fund this stuff as well. So there might be a incentive from like buying one of the NFTs where it can lower the price, etc. We might be able to give it out for free to the community, but essentially you'll have a small box. And you just, it'll probably be, 20 volts, something around there, not too much energy consuming. You plug in a either wireless, preferably Cat 5, and forget about it. You plug it in and forget about it, pretty much.
Yeah, and then you just log into your client, and you can directly interact it with a beautiful, pretty little front end with dApps on it, like your cell phone. Point and click. Oh, I want to interact with this app today, like on my cell phone. Click. Done. Spools up and bullish the wonderful programming teams that they can do. They can make that without people have to physically write scripts in order to do that. Can we do that now?
The client is just the user interface?
Yes. So the client will be also locally held. So right now, it's that client, that front end, the web, the software piece, like not the physical, tangible action software, but the interacting software. Like when you go to the hex.com website and you want to end your stake, that's interacting with the chain. When you go to Electrum, it's interacting to the chain, right? Hex.com is it's a web front end that interacts with the software that's in a box. That's why it's secure, right? But now we can make it even more secure. Instead of going and you clicking that goes through one of these 5,800 nodes that's owned by a centralized, that's data scrubbing that stuff, and now interact from your node, from your private client, right to the smart contract. And it reduces all that attack surface area and all that data scrubbing. Say, hey, this guy's moving a lot of money. Let's seek out and freaking see if we can pinpoint and hack that wallet. Where does that information come from? Going through one of these 5,800 nodes, because they are owned by corporations data scrubbing your shit. When you point send, that send is an outbound message to one of these 5,800 nodes to make a tangible action, to go to a miner, to add the block to the blockchain. We don't need to do that. We have the ability to do this on our own.
What you're describing, though, I think it sounds inevitable, right? It sounds like what you're describing is inevitable. If crypto is going to get adopted fully, then and legacy is going to change or go away completely, then what you're describing is inevitably going to happen, right?
It's not going to inevitably happen. If it was inevitably going to happen, it would have happened between now and the last 12, 14 years, and every freaking chain trying to. Well, no, there's no level of understanding, and even the barrier to level of understanding now.
But that's why it's inevitable, because there's you and there's other people in the community that are, and when I say community, I mean crypto in general.
Think about this.
Think about this the same way.
This is literally like, think of as blockchains as your toilets. Okay, everybody's gone around and put it in the toilets, and think about the nodes, all the little nodes decentralized in the world, as your plumbing pipe. Okay, right now what has happened is everybody in the world has installed a toilet, and they go in and they take a dump and a shit in that toilet and they flush it, and then they wonder why it's all over the floor. That's exactly what happened. That shit is projects failing after failing after failing, because the security is minimal. It's being secured by a few thousand nodes, what are owned by a few corporate entities. There's no plumbing.
Most of the security.
So basically, you're saying it'll just become more centralized if people that don't have 100% financial incentive don't take care of it. Because what do we know about things in crypto? Like, you can say anyone could take care of it, but at the same time, nobody does anything right. So it could be years and years and years, if at all, if this wasn't just taken over by a more centralized entity as we go on.
I can assure you right now, if we deploy these things on scale, we will create that adoption, because people will understand and other communities will follow. And you want other communities to follow, because the more they spool up on other networks, this more secure than an entire ecosystem, and I mean crypto ecosystem, comes. But if we can do that in Hex and the community of Pulse and Pulse Hex can lead that freaking carve through the forest, grab our machetes, and be the first ones to forge through the forest to create the path, the rest will follow, and that will create change. That will create the adoption, right?
Mm-hmm. Does it? No, I love this. I think this is awesome. The adoption and continuing to talk about it to gain people's understanding and buy-in to what you're doing and working on, I think is what like.
Again, I am not working on this. I'm just everybody.
Well, I thought you said you were working on the NFT project. That's not you.
Yeah, I can. I'm willing to be part of it, but I'm not.
It's a community effort. So,
it's a community effort.
Yeah, so we have
by the Hexagon community.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of right now. I think there's like about a little bit over 20 hexagons so far from different skill sets, from like, developers, DevOps, experience with servers, experience with hardware, and then we're just all coming together and brainstorming to like essentially create a test bed with whatever hardware we have, create a test network, so we can, test proof of concept, and then, from there figure out what it's going to take, to get this done, and then, pretty much put it out there.
This is awesome. Has there a talk around a potential like instead of an NFT, like a token that would be somehow tied to it in a way? Have you guys brainstormed that route?
It's definitely doable. It's definitely doable, but I don't know. To me, I don't want it to be looked at that like, hey, we're doing this. I'm doing this to make money. I'm doing this for the best of our ecosystem. And everybody's talking about all these problems and all these negative things, all these security issues, everything else. And I'm just the one saying, here's the solution to your problem. It's not going to solve every single problem in the world, but it's going to lower and make our community more robust. It's going to lower the the level of attack, remove people data scrubbing our stuff, servers going down, make it more secure, and bring out new business opportunities to the entire Hex community and Pulse Hex community and Pulse community to launch more things, which will create more adoption, which are all conversations, right, that are having. How do we get more people on board? Okay, here you go. This is a tangible, usable thing. Once deployed on scale, you can bridge tech to real-world utility, solve real-world problems, make lives people more convenient. Okay, we're worried about security. How can we make sure this doesn't happen to ourselves? Okay, here's how we can get more security. Why? Because we're directly interacting with the chain. We're not going to a third-party server. We're not being subject to the 5,800 nodes that are being governed. We're not being data scrubbed. We take control and consensus back ourselves. Okay, these are all issues, right? We want to create an onboard, offboard ramp. Essentially, on a larger scale, we could create our own offboard, onboard ramp, similar to BNB. Right? The peer-to-peer BNB onboard, right? Instead of having one central bank to go through, we have 20, 30,000 hexagons that can freaking onboard into this. Oh, we start creating all kinds of new concepts, but I don't even want to blow your mind with that because the options are endless. But it's non-functional until somebody, gets the cell phone in their hand and some company, like the nodes, builds triangulation grids with physical steel and towers and plugs them in with power in order for that triangulation grid to work, in order for you to distribute the node that gives you life. Well, that node is the same thing. Somebody needs to create the hardware. Somebody needs to create the software. We need to put it in a fancy little box. Then all the people need to plug them in. Then and only then will the DApp peer-to-peer function that we all enjoy, that peer-to-peer network effect, Metcalfe's law, is why our lives has changed exponentially over the last couple decades.
That piece is going to be interesting to solve, right? Because there's a lot of pieces involved there, right? In terms of getting people on board. Well, to try to get people on board, but to get people on board, right? It's still like from conceptual benefits for a lot of people. It's hard for them to grasp.
So can we find 5,800 hexagons to buy into this?
Probably.
Okay, then if we can find 5,800 hexagons to buy into this, we're already the same size as an entire ETH network.
Yep.
The same size.
And once it's to some capacity and there's something deployed that is easier for you know what I mean? Yes.
Is there a way to pull up a chart where as you grow a network, how the routing of that network, you know what I'm saying? It's a chart, basically
Yeah, the network
Metcalfe's law.
effect.
The
Yeah.
network effect, where how it exponentially grows the more you plug in.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I'll
Because it's
look for it.
routed between more people, right? Maybe this chart will start to connect home when you can see the network effect grow.
Oh, I
in front of
completely
you.
understand that, but to get somebody to spend $600
Well, here's
on
another
something
thing.
where
No, that's
where
a
it's
good
like,
point. That's
cool,
a
you're
good
part
point.
of a network.
That's
but,
a good
like,
point.
whoop-de-doo.
And here's probably something that's missing for context. You don't have to spend any money to actually do this. If you have a spare machine, you can do this right now. Like literally, if you have a spare laptop, you can literally do this right now. Would it be the best performing node? No, but it'll still be a node. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So all we're trying to do is make it easier for adoption. That's it. But technically, anyone with a spare machine or a Raspberry Pi, whatever, can run a node. Like I did a proof of concept on Sunday where I have a BTC, an Ethereum, and a PLS node running off a cluster. Just testing it out. So, eventually we'll be able to get that down in size and, and just make it, to the point where you can just plug and play.
Size, computing power,
Just for adoption. But like anyone who wants, but anyone who wants to get into this right now and is like down with this whole mission, they can literally do it right now. It's all open source software.
And it's free.
If you guys want, people who keep hitting me up about the Telegram chat, I'm not the Telegram guy. I don't know jack nuts about none of this stuff except for what I learned today. So you can DM Bullish and Frosty and see. It's kind of like private, I would assume.
That's a great point that you bring up here. So Frosty, how can you point people in a direction who are going to watch this? Right, there's 115 people watching. There's probably several of them who would love to support this idea and continue to spread this virus of an idea to more people and educate more people. Where can you point them to go to start contributing, to start helping with this and be a part of those, 7 people or 14 people that are brainstorming?
My advice was them is to go to the Ethereum website, go to the Bitcoin website, not my website, not some third-party website. Go right to these chains' website and read the benefits as the individual, read the benefits as a network, read how it increases your security, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just deploying it. Educate yourself how this is a benefit and understand why that's a benefit and help communicate that out so people don't think I'm trying to be something and do something negative here. That help grow the barrier of entry. And don't take my word for it. I didn't create the Ethereum.org freaking whatever website it is. I didn't make that. I didn't launch the website for Bitcoin. I don't own it. Okay? So they're literally telling you in black and white. Like I posted some of them on my Twitter. It took me like 5 minutes to Google. And if you're that lazy to Google, ask Alexa or Siri to do it for you. Okay? Then you can read it. And if you have an Alexa Siri, they probably will even read it for you. Okay? So you don't even have to go down that. So don't give me your excuse of this laziness bullshit because you have all the technology. Take the 10 minutes out of your freaking day, shut off Spaces, shut off Netflix, take 5-10 minutes out of your life and read it. If you have any question or doubt that I'm saying that I'm trying to mislead you or misguide you. That's
I don't think anybody had that. At least I didn't.
Many people do.
Yeah,
really?
many people.
You don't, Sam. You're not involved, but like you get it at this point. Like the people just say shit.
Right.
Like,
so my advice is,
like they say whatever. Like if you're doing anything, they're just going to say you're stealing money.
Exactly.
Period.
Right.
Like if you came out with anything, there would be people in a Telegram somewhere saying Sam Stoll is trying to 51% attack Ethereum, and you'd be like, dude, we got this coin. If you run, it mines. It's sick. And they'll be like, dude, he's going after the whole ecosystem. Like
exactly.
You can't have passion. And this is one thing I've noticed. People that have never understood true passion in their own life wouldn't understand the incentive structure that you're going after because, and I'm not saying not with the nodes themselves, but I'm saying like in order to really dive into something that takes so much effort and with you're trying to, you have a bigger picture, right? It's not just like this immediate, like here's the, and that takes a long time to get to. I've never done anything like that really, like, you know what I mean? So, and Richard's kind of showed us that, like he always says, like, you can't pay me if you tried. And that's a great place to be in. And when we can control some of the way these things interact, it's great. But I'm going to wrap up real quick, guys. I'm going to let you both go. But before we go, guys, I dropped my Telegram in there. We got like 40 spots left before I close it up for a little while because I don't like when it gets too. I don't like when there's too many people. And me and Wales Only are going on at 6 p.m. Wales Only. We're going in. It's going to be great. I have all sorts of questions for him. I'm going to take a nap for that one. Join the Telegram, and then if you would like to, guys, you can go Frosty. Anything that you'd like to talk about? I know that this is kind of
Any
new.
closing?
And you guys are still working on it, but
No, I just want
to
yeah, I just
support
wanna-
any links or anything.
No, I don't have any links. I'm not here shilling nothing. You know what I mean? Like, follow me on Twitter. You want to friggin' get inside that. So one of the things we're working on here is like the NFTs. So we're going to launch an NFT collection here to help educate these girls, right? Because they don't have regular jobs. So we're creating an NFT collection to create ambassadors here. So, so we're going to create a 52-week collection for a group of girls. Why is that important? Because we're teaching them on board. What is a wallet? How to download a wallet? How to interact? How to do all those things? So they can teach other people, right? But they can't afford to do all that, right? So we're going to create a 52-week collection where it's like maybe $100 or $2 or whatever. But that $100, $200 a week basically ends up for them and giving them a full-time job, right? To be ambassadors, to learn crypto, to create the adoption and overbear the entry to the people here in Ecuador. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
is that a
cool.
good? So are you buying an NFT? No, you're helping create new ambassadors to a new ecosystem, to educate them on technology, to teach that to other people. That's the byproduct of that. So that's one of the things we're working on here. If you see that, you'll see those be dropped out in a little while. But just think that you're not buying an NFT to support a group of people. You're buying an NFT to support an individual, to help become an ambassador, to teach new people in a new country, right? So it's something different. Where's the value prop of that? Expandability, education, right? So that's, and then regarding everything else, I just want to thank you guys and your time for having me. You know what I mean? What you guys do for our community to help educate and spread the words is very valuable. And I appreciate you guys and keep up the great work. And I thank you for your time having me today.
Frosty, I want to acknowledge you for taking the time. I can clearly see that you're passionate about this. I'm coming in from a standpoint of not understanding things, and I feel like I have a much better understanding of this, and I'm able to see the vision to a certain extent of what you're talking about. I think it's a tremendous direction that we as a community could go towards, and it would provide. You can't even touch on the potentials for that, right? Because you can't comprehend the capacity of this 10, 15 years ago. You wouldn't. I would told you what I would be able to do from this today. 10 years ago, you couldn't even comprehend what that was. And I think painting that vision. I think you did a really good job today, and thank you for answering all of my questions. I had a lot of questions, so I got a lot of value out of this. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. Jump over to Twitter and follow Frosty, because probably talking about more valuable stuff over there that is interesting and valuable to the crypto space in general. My link is down below for Twitter if you guys want to jump over there and say what's good as well. That's all I've got. Appreciate you guys. GRC, thank you for the show. And you want to take us out with the DeFi proof?
Yeah, we'll get some DeFi proof going in here, guys. We're live at 11 a.m. Eastern every single day. I have 25 subs until 2K. The thread's blowing up. Richard retweeted it. I want to retweet it out, guys. This has been so much fun for me.
Bullish, spool up the Frosty exit song from freaking Vortex.
Where is that? I don't even know where it is.
Is that funny?
Yeah, did you watch that video that Vortex made, the song?
No. Where is it? On YouTube?
It's on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
We love videos.
We'll do that as the exit song if we can find it.
And good to see you in here, Bran. On with Wales Only at 6 p.m., guys. Seek 5555. Great to see you. Rolling Zuko, KS, Crypto Jake, your insight. Oh, Club Cats. I'm the official Club Cats ambassador. So that is my NFT brand. I'm a Club Cat. Unless I come out with the Club Rats.
What just Vortex or
Vortex.
Vortex again?
Vortex again, yeah.
And it's
you posted
27 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Let's check it. Why not? And then we'll
play.
DeFi.
I think I shared it out on my Twitter. So if you go to my Twitter, it's on there.
Is this it?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let me turn this up and let me go back to the
Have you
beginning.
guys heard this yet?
If I get copyright, I'm gonna blow up.
No.
No,
He
you'll be
created it.
fine. You'll be fine.
Play it,
Till
Sam.
the sun comes up.
Can you hear it?
high noon. JPEG junkie, crypto tycoon in the vortex lounge, getting down with the sassy, flashy. Pass me a drink, feeling glassy. Flash me, cash me outside in a caddy. How about that? Now you call me daddy. Frosty, we're getting frosty. We're getting frosty. We're getting frosty style. Frosty. We're getting frosty.
You already know what time it is.
Crypt in the morning,
Crypt in the morning.
crypt in the morning,
Waiting on phones.
crypt in the morning, crypt in the morning,
Ready to take notes.
crypt in the morning,
Crypt in the morning.
crypt in the morning,
Waiting on phones.
crypt in the morning, crypt in the morning.
Ready to take notes.
Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stay. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Gym ready to set me to show you the way.